Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to this Astrology, Human Design, and Gene Keys channel with me today, Tan. And we're going to be talking about Gene Key 18 today. And of course, if you're interested in getting any kind of readings or joining any of our courses, then head over to tanastrology.com, where me and my sister soul tribes would be glad to be your guides on your self-discovery journeys. All right, so let's dive into Gene Key 18 by looking at its overview first. So, Gene Key 18 spans 3 degrees and 52 minutes of Libra to 9 degrees and 30 minutes of Libra. It has a shadow called Judgment, a gift of integrity, and a siddhi of perfection, the healing power of the mind. The dream arc vision key bird is the Hoopoe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The life key animal is the tiger, and the fear key underworld creature is the flea. In the codon ring, this gene key is part of the ring of matter and is associated with the amino acid alanine. In the 64 I Ching hexagram, this hexagram is mountain over wind, working on what has been spoiled. Maintain a gentle mind and strong back, restraining words until clarity is needed. The programming partner of Gene Key 18 is Gene Key 17, and of course that's the Aries archetype, because Aries is opposite to Libra on the zodiac wheel, and the programming partner offers a bouncing complementary opposite energy to Gene Key 18. In human design, this gate is located in the spleen and is connected to gate 58 in the root via a channel called the channel of upliftment or judgment. The shadow is criticism, the gift is upliftment, and the siddhi is joy. So if you have this archetype somewhere in your chart, in your body graph, or in your astrology birth charts, you are going to be somebody who is very particular about things looking nice, but not looking nice in a sense of like flowery, fully decorated types, but more in terms of symmetry and harmony, and you have a good eye for things that is out of place. Yes, let's use that word. You have a good eye for things that are out of place. You may also be somebody who is very interested in psychology and in healing the mind of people and in healing your own mind. And healing may be a modality that you are very much drawn to because you have a natural healer about you. So let's look first at the shadow here, which is called the shadow of judgment. Ooh, I feel like a lot of people hear that they are having this shadow and they're like cringing because it's like, ooh, am I a judgmental person? So what the shadow of judgment means here is that, okay, so we have to trace this gene key back to childhood because like I said, this gene key is one of the gene key that does represent psychology. So when you trace a child back to their back to their childhood, there comes a period in your life when you want to challenge authorities. And this need to challenge authority is a healthy part of a child growing up, right? All teenagers want to challenge authorities in some way, shape, or form. It is an urge to be differentiated from those authorities. That's why they challenge authorities. So there are 3 developmental cycles of children, each of them spanning 7 years. So from the first year of birth to 7 years old, we're developing the physical body. From around 7 or 8 to 14, we're developing our emotional body. And from 14 to 15 to 21, we're developing our mental body, our mind. And Gene Key 18 has a lot to do with the development of your mental faculties. If parents are not stuck in their own judgmental attitudes and mindset, the child will be able to develop this last developmental cycle, so they will be able to develop their mental faculties in a healthy and complete and holistic way, which means that they will be given the opportunity to challenge and question their parents and the authorities in their life in a healthy way. However, if the parents are judging the opinions of the child at this stage of life, or they just have a completely different opinion or way of looking at the world, and this conflict is made to traumatize the child in some way, shape, or form, the child will not get a chance to fully develop their mental faculties and stay stuck in that low frequency pattern of judgment. And this stuckness in this low frequency pattern of judgment can be seen on a daily basis as an adult as having a victim mind. So if you observe your thoughts on a daily basis to see if you're in the shadow of judgment or not, observe your thoughts and see if there's this victim mentality that comes into your life on a daily basis. To be in a victim mind means that you allow your thoughts to be influenced by the collective negative patterns of humanity as a whole. And this will result in a lot of complaining and worrying. So if you are somebody that, you meet somebody and they ask, oh, how's your day been? How's your week been? And immediately you're like, it was just so bad because this person did this and this happened to me and this situation happened to me and this person did this to me and it was just a mess. That's a victim mind. That's complaining, or maybe it's just worrying about something. This kind of thinking is what's going to keep you from being abundant. And it can rob you of your wealth and your health. You may think that it's like normal to complain, but when you are complaining, oh, the sun is just here now. But when you are in this complaining, worrying mentality, you create a negative aura around yourself and around the people around you. And they can feel this negative, heavy aura that just is there. So what is actually happening here is that you are allowing yourself to identify with the judgments, the opinions that you have of whatever that's happening to you in your life to make you feel more secure in some ways. It's a form of like giving yourself security about what's going on in your life. And it will lead to this personality of somebody who is always needing to be right. So if you're in the shadow of judgment, you can be that type of person that has the need to be right. And if you have the shadow of judgment, you may want to ask yourself, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? Because when you're in this victim mind, there is really this inability to take responsibility for what's happening in your life. And there's also this opinion, which is the programming partner, which is Jinky 17. There's this opinion coming in. So if somebody is doing something and it's affecting you in some way, shape, or form, and you get stuck in the dissatisfaction of, okay, this is bad, that's already a judgment to say, oh, this person did this and it's just bad. It's not good. That's already a judgment. You don't know what's going on in their personal life. You don't know what kind of traumas they've been through. You're not living their life. You don't know the kind of mental anxiety they may be in. You cannot judge them for that, but you can just not be affected by it. You can stand your ground and you can find a way to cope by being strong, by having people around you that support you, who truly you can trust and that love you, that support you, and be unaffected by these negative things that you complain and worry about outside of yourself. So it doesn't really matter what your political views are, what your religious views are. The only thing that matters is how seriously you take your judgments. Even if your judgments are positive, it can also be very heavy on people if you hold on to it so tightly. Because this shadow of judgment doesn't always have to be like complaining about negative things that's happening around you. It can be like judging people in a good way, an overly good way. That's also a judgment, because no one is either so good or so bad in the way that a person with a shadow of judgment, Jinky 18, views it to be. So even if you see somebody on TV, or let's say you see somebody on social media and you're like, this person is perfect. Look at their page. It looks so beautiful. The way they talk, it flows so well. They're so dreamy. They're so amazing. That is still a judgment. And that can still feel very heavy for the people around you. People around you are not feeling like, wow, you are so nice because you say such good things about this person. They're suspecting that there's something going on with your judgment of this other person, that they're all good. When you're in the shadow of judgment, you become easily obsessed with little details of things, and then you blow those details out of proportion. All judgment is self-judgment. So if you are, and you may be, listening to this and you may be like, I don't judge other people. The only person I judge in this world is actually myself. I turn that judgment inwards. I never view anybody as either too good or too bad. It's always, usually turned inwards. But the thing is that all judgment is self-judgment. Self-judgment is all judgment. It's not one without the other. If you are saying or thinking that you don't judge other people, the only person that you criticize or judge is yourself, be mindful of when you are around other people, because more likely than not, you are also judging them and you may not be conscious or aware of it, but your mind is going there. If your mind has the ability to judge in this way, it doesn't pick or choose who it's going to judge. It's going to judge everyone and everything, including yourself and the people around you. So we can have two kinds of shadows. When we talk about the shadow of judgment, we can have the repressive and the reactive. And if you have this gene key, you will experience both of them back and forth in your life. When you're in the repressive shadow, it is called inferiority. So inferiority is what it is. It's feeling inferior to other people. This is when you compare yourself to others and put yourself down. You compare yourself to others, but you're never as good as others. You compare yourself to others, but you're never as smart. You're never as beautiful. You're never as intelligent as others. You may tell those people, you may compliment them and say, you're so beautiful, you're so smart, you're so intelligent. But deep down inside, you're like, well, why am I not like that? And the reason why this type of repressive shadow happens is that when you were growing up, your parents might judge you too harshly, so that a pattern of self-judgment settles in you. You are conditioned by this. When you turn your judgment into yourself, you become a conformist. You feel like you have to people please. You go along with the majority of people instead of standing up for yourself, and standing up for what you believe in and what you actually want to do in life, and your own convictions. There can also be the reactive shadow, which is called superiority. So this is a superiority complex. This is when you consider yourself to be superior to others, when you compare yourself to others. You have a constant need to also challenge authority in any way possible. And the reason this happens is stemming from childhood again. So in this stage of your childhood, you're in the stage of your mental development, your parents were self-judging. So they were judging themselves. So it's this dance with you and your parents, right? Here, your parents are judging themselves, and they're not placing proper judgments onto you or helping you to develop your mental faculties, so you feel like that you have to be the one to be assertive and judge them. So you have this pattern of judging people that came since your childhood. They didn't maintain a strong enough boundary around you, and they fall into their own self-judgments. You have this anger that your parents are not strong enough to judge other people, to maintain their integrity and uphold their convictions. So you must be the one to do that. So you must be the one to judge other people. And you're not going to think this, of course, but you're like, you must be the one to maintain all the conviction and integrity because my parents cannot do it. You have a disrespect for authority deep down, and you believe that you are somehow above all authorities. Your identity is built around your ability to undermine other people. So, how can we move from this deep, dark shadow of judgment to this gift of integrity? So, we go back to the 7-year cycle that I mentioned earlier in the video. So, what happens is when one of these cycles is interrupted, it doesn't matter which one it is. It could be the physical, the emotional development, or the mental development. When one of them is interrupted or not completed, it will the wound will be carried into the next cycle for a second chance to be healed. If that's still not happening, it will go into the last cycle for a chance to be healed. And if there are still some part of the child's development that is not healed in their first 21 years of their life, this will carry out into adulthood. And it will take 7 years to heal this incomplete developmental cycle, whether that's physical, emotional, or mental, which means that at 27 years old, that's the age that you will become fully healed from whatever wound was instilled there within you mentally, emotionally, or physically. Before you're 27 years old, it doesn't matter how many psychologists you have visited, how many types of somatic therapies or healing you have done. It takes 7 years to heal the human body because our human DNA reprograms itself every 7 years. So before you reach 27, that's not going to happen. So there can be a little bit of a late bloomer, a late healer with gene key 18 here as well. So once you become healed, you stepped into the gift of integrity. And I also want to say that a lot of people who have gene key 18 may be feeling called to offer some kind of service to the world or to offer some kind of healing to the world. But the more that you delay your own healing process in order to help and serve other people, the later you heal and the more you have to be in that shadow state, and the later it is for you to step into this gift of integrity. So the gift of integrity means that you're able to hold your standard, hold your own space without reacting to your judgments. Whether that means that you are holding your own standard without falling inferior or without falling superior to somebody else. So there's a deeply physical aspect to Gene Key 18 in terms of your immune system. So if you're in the shadow of judgment, your immunity is weakened, which means that you may not be very healthy as you should be or could be. When you step into the gift of integrity, the tensile strength within your body becomes stronger and your immunity gets stronger. I think I said 27 years old. I mean, that should be 28 years old actually when you think about 7 years. So 28 years old is the age that the body will be able to heal itself. If you are not, your body will continually bring you back to these deep-rooted issues in your childhood that is affecting your health. They will come back over and over again until you do the healing work. You have to go deep and you have to understand what made you the way that you are in order to release certain aspects or many aspects of your conditioning. When you are free from the trap of the victim mind, when you take responsibility to really heal yourself, that is when your judgments becomes integrity. You become somebody who maintains high standards in everything that you do, especially in your relationships, because this is Libra archetype. This is Venus energy. And I've seen a lot of people who have Gene Key 18 who do not have standards in their relationships. And I've seen some that do. When you don't have a standard relationship, you settle, when you're in the shadow of judgment, you settle into accepting whatever your partner brings you, even though it's very basic. Okay, so you may be in a relationship with somebody who gives you gifts on your birthday, who says that you're beautiful or handsome, who pays for your dates. And you're like, this is great. They did all these things for me. But you don't even realize that that's like basic. That's like the foundation. Like they should do those things. And paying for the date, it depends, of course, on how you handle money and, who's the one making more money and things like that. But they should tell you that you're beautiful or handsome. Your partner should tell you that. They should be celebrating your birthday with you, or at least trying to offer you a gift if that's what you like. That's basic. But the people who, with the shadow of Gene Key 18, when they don't have integrity, they don't uphold a high standard, they're just like, that's so great. They did these things for me. And I'm listening to them and I'm like, that's basic. They should be doing those things for you. But what else? What more? What is your standard, right? So when you have integrity, before you even get into a relationship, you already know what you want, what you need in that relationship. So maybe you're somebody who loves freedom, right? And your partner does all these things for you. They buy you a gift for your birthday. They pay for your dates. They call you beautiful, but they don't really give you freedom in whatever way, shape, or form that is. If you know what your standards are, you'll be like, yeah, that's not the relationship for me because I have this standard that I need freedom. But if you don't have that standard, you don't have that integrity, you're in the shadow of judgment, you're like, oh, they did these basic things for me. Okay, that's great. I'll just stay with this person. But something is wrong, something is missing, something is not right. So that's the difference between like integrity and judgment. So yeah, because this is Libra archetype, the other thing that I also noticed with this Gene Key is that to develop your own standard and your own integrity, you can't always be in a relationship. And so this is what like Libra people like to do. It's like, oh, they're always in a relationship. They're never really alone or single. And when you're always in a relationship and you don't have that time to be single, you don't have the space and the time to develop your own standard because you got what you got. And if you're somebody who also fears change, you're like, this is what I got in my relationship. I'm just gonna have to settle with that. I don't even see the point of having to figure out my standard because that's what you got, right? So it's healthy to be single from time to time so that you can figure out who you are, where you came from, what your conditionings were, and what do you require in a relationship, and uphold those standards with integrity when somebody comes into your life, and let them go if they don't meet those standards. To uphold integrity, you have to be courageous. You have to challenge anything and anyone who doesn't meet your standards. You have to be courageous enough to do that. Remember that judging from the heart can never be cruel because true integrity only has one purpose, to serve the whole in the spirit of truth and compassion. If somebody doesn't meet your standard, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them or anything wrong with you either. It's just that they don't meet your standards, and you have to be compassionate with them and compassionate with yourself in the process. So let's look at the siddhi of perfection. What does this mean when you're in the siddhi of perfection? So Richard Rudd describes perfection as the highest vision a human being can aim for. And people with the 18th siddhi aim for this highest of ideals, not for yourself, but for the sake of the world. So it's a really beautiful gift and siddhi, integrity and perfection, because you know what perfect would really be like, but you're also not judging something that is not yet perfect, because you understand that there's a journey to follow. There's an evolutionary journey that people have to follow in order to get there. When you're in the siddhi of perfection, you are healthy, and you ensure human health by constantly challenging our environment, what's not working in the environment, in the food that you eat that's not healthy, and you want to uplift that into a higher standard and principle. And so you might question, well, what then is perfect health? True physical health, as described by Richard Rudd in this book, cannot be attained unless everyone in the world, all of humanity, is on the path to true health, because we're all interconnected. True physical health cannot be attained until all human wounds have really been healed. As long as there are still wounds within some people in the world, we cannot experience that holistic physical health. And of course, the siddhi frequency is the frequency of enlightenment. So it's almost like you don't have to do anything anymore when you're in the siddhi frequency. That's why I also don't want to talk too much about it, because it's a siddhi. The siddhi will dawn upon you when you are walking the path of your gift. The siddhi will just come, and then you are enlightened, and you are just this being on earth. The siddhi of perfection strives to bring a new science of mental healing into the world. You are tireless in your service to humanity. Although you are enlightened, you are still wanting to serve the world in some way, shape, or form. You still have that urge, that energy to serve the world. You also deeply understand that the world is perfect exactly as it is. Yes, there are things that can be improved, but yet it is still perfect as it is now. You strive to continuously improve the world, but it is still perfect in the way that it is now, because it has to be the way that it is now so that we can improve on it. Kind of like that awareness of, without suffering, there is no happiness. So we have to suffer in order to experience happiness. So we have to experience something that is imperfect in order to improve it to reach perfection. But in that imperfection, it is perfect because it allows for improvement to happen. I feel like I'm speaking in paradoxes here, but I know you know what I mean. So Richard Rudd describes that the people who have the siddhi of perfection are sometimes considered saints because they're just so good by their nature. And they are just living with service to the world. You are above the victim mind. You see someone who may seem like they are evil or they're doing a lot of bad things, but you can still see their higher self hidden within them. So you no longer complain about what they did to you, what they did to that person, and so on and so forth, because you know that there inside that person lies their higher self and their higher potential, that it is there. Because you have done your healing. You know it is possible. So you know that that person can do it too, and it would be possible for them, even if they decide to never do it in their life. But it is there. And by holding this higher energy frequency within yourself, you actually, in the siddhi of perfection, are able to raise the energy frequency of that person that you may consider to be in the lower energy frequency or doing something bad or evil in some ways, without them even realizing that their energy frequency is raised. This is what Richard Rudd calls siddhic thinking. So like the siddhi, but it becomes like siddhic, so siddhic thinking. This is much more than just positive thinking. This is energetic thinking that influences others. So this is the healing power of the mind of the 18th gene key. And if you have this archetype, then do comment below and let us know what your experiences have been. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much, beautiful souls, for coming along with me on these astrology, human design, gene key journeys. And if you like the effort that I've put into making these videos for you guys, then go ahead and give me a super thanks. It's a tab under the video somewhere there. And if you're interested in any kind of courses or readings, then head over to my astrology website, tanastrology.com. All right, well, that's it, beautiful souls. I'll be seeing you really soon and sending everybody lots of perfection and love today.